Welcome to Mercy's Designs. My name is Mercy and I sell Stampin' Up! Products. In today's tutorial, I would like to show you how I made this fun fold. It's a diamond spring fold and it springs kind of. Okay, so my inspiration came from Linda Hanford and she made a card just similar to this with the Seaside Notion stamp set and a few others, but her card was smaller, so I will bring in my template here. So this really utilizes, you use one piece of paper and you have to cut it down, so there's a little bit of waste, but you use the full length. So it's 5.5 by 11 your base is, and there's some scoring involved which isn't too tricky as you might think. So if you want to take a screenshot of it, then you will have this information, and then when you edit it you can turn it. So my other pieces, you will need a piece for writing the message, and this is also information about what I have in the card, which I will list in the description below. And then you will need an embossed piece of paper, and this will become a diamond, and then you're going to cut a piece of DSP. So I'm going to set this aside and bring in my stamping trimmer. Most of you probably have this. So the scoring on here is very simple. You're going to, the first score mark is going to be at the halfway point. So for our case, because it is a 11 inch, we're going to go at 5.5. So I'm going to get this, score it. And the next step is we're going to be doing some marking. So what I would suggest is here you're going to mark at the 2 3/4 at the top. And you can do that by simply using, just going in the little valley here. So I'm going to mark that. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to again find the 2 3/4 and start marking. So I want to mark right here and I want to mark down here. And this will make it a lot easier than just using a ruler, but you certainly could do that as well. So I'm going to go again at 2 3/4 and I'm going to mark. And this paper is Blueberry Bushel, and it's part of the Noble Peacock suite. And so I'm going to, the color scheme I used is mostly from the Noble Peacock. All right, so here we have these marks. This is what you want it to look like. I'm going to bring back in my trimmer and we're going to start doing the crisscross. So don't get scared. This part is quite simple. You're just lining up here. Here, I want to make sure I get in here. And you want to line up at the lower part. So your 2 lines, just make sure when you're putting your ruler thing down that you don't mess it up. So this is easier not doing it on camera, but even on camera this isn't too bad. So again, I want to line up here in the lower one, that mark. I'm not sure if you can see that whole thing. I'll just try to shift it a little to make sure. Okay, so I will close that up and we will score there. Now the next score mark will be, it's hard to see with the dark paper, here and here. So you want to turn it. Oh, actually I want it on this side because this is the side I marked. Okay, so again, 2 3/4 is kind of your key measurement for this card. And now we have it, and it should look like that. So the last part is, with the stamping trimmer, is we're going to go ahead cut a corner, the corner off. So again, I'm going to line it up and bring my blade in and go ahead and cut that off. So that looks pretty good. Now I'm just going to turn it, find that, and line this up. So it takes a little bit. Take your time with this part because it is important. And then cut. So now we really are done with the stamping trimmer. I kind of was jumping the gun there for a second. All right, so I just like to erase the marks that we made, and it is much easier if you do make some marks for yourself. So bringing back in my template, this will tell me where I need to make valley folds versus mountain folds. So I'm going to start with the mountain folds and bringing in my bone folder. Boy, can't remember things. Okay, so these crisscrosses, see how it's really not that difficult. So don't get intimidated. Now we're going to do our valley fold, valley fold, valley fold. Now we can start the building process. So what you want to do here is, of course I've got to reinforce this, is kind of just let it finesse itself. So what I'm gonna do right here is just push down, and that makes your spring base. So see how that works? Now it's loose like this, but we are going to fill this in. But we also have this, which I've cut, and that was this little DSP piece. You cut a square 2.5 by 2.5 and you cut it diagonally. I did that ahead because I don't think you need to see that part. So what I'm going to do right now is go ahead and glue this down. Again, this card is actually surprisingly easy and simple. And you just want to do that triangle. And you want to just lay it down. And you need to give it a little bit of time to set. So the next part will be to bring, I thought I saw a little glue seeping through. Bring these pieces in to decorate. And I kind of cut it on this Noble Peacock so that I have a little bit of a flower on each end. But it helps if the paper is either non-directional or it can be made to look good, if you will, that way. So now I'm going to just go ahead and glue these corner pieces. As I was mentioning, I was inspired by Linda's card, and she did it was a fabulous job, and she also, instead of doing DSP at these corners, she did part of the theme, which was seashells, I believe, and that looked really cool. So there are a lot of different ways to do this. I'm making this a graduation card, and I think this set, the Royal Peacock, really lends itself to graduation. It has a lot of fantastic sentiments, and you can definitely use it for masculine cards as well. So that's always a plus in my opinion. Okay, so here, this piece of paper is our little square, and this is 3 5/8 by 3 5/8, and I ran it through the mosaic embossing folder. So when you open this up, it has these beautiful curves, and so this would be how I just laid it in and kind of saw how I wanted it. Okay, so I like to, with embossed paper, it's fun to actually add a little color. So I will quickly do that, and basically we're just hitting this to show some highlights. Now we have this all done. This is Pear Pizzazz. The color that is supposed to go with the suite is the Old Olive, but Pear Pizzazz is a lighter shade of Old Olive in my opinion, and I think it just is a little better. So here we're going to just go ahead and adhere this to the front. As far as your choice of embossing folders, you need to have one where it doesn't really matter the direction. I mean, you could potentially put it in at a diamond and so forth, but it would be a little bit tricky. I like ones that are embossing folders that are forgiving, and this one definitely fits the bill of the mosaic. It's really perfect, I think, for this card. All right, so now we have this on, and for this card, I went ahead, I'm gonna show the dies for this. I keep mine in here, and so I have my stamp set, and then I put a magnet sheet here. So with the dies, this is a very intricate one, and I decided to run it through with foam and then did the silver paper and adhere the two together. Now, it took a long time to get everything out, even with the die brush. It just, you have to work with it a little. So I did that off screen, and you can see it adds some dimension. With my first card, I decided to pop up the sentiment, but this one I thought it would be fun to go ahead and pop up the peacock. Okay, so that's the way it's gonna look. But I already went ahead and die cut out the nested, stitch nested shape die here. And we're going to go ahead and adhere this, and this is going to be behind the peacock. So it's a reverse. Okay, so I'll just get my Tombow and quickly add this. This card, I think, would be just, again, perfect for a graduation. The sentiments are great for that. But after I made the first card, I was like, what about the gift? How would you have the gift? So I made a pocket, and I will show you a little bit about that. I used the stitched nested, stitch shapes dies, the largest square, and that worked perfectly. Now I'm using some art glitter glue, and the reason why I'm using that over the Tombow is because it dries clear, and if I have any kind of smearing, I do not want that to, show the glue. But I actually still prefer the Tombow over this glitter glue. I found that if I used it like to adhere this part, a big chunk, it dried kind of stiff, and I had some warping. But because this is the foam, I don't think I'll have any issues with it. Anyway, I haven't found anything better on the market than the Tombow for liquid glue, but that's, of course, my opinion. I do like to experiment a little. So here I added the glue, and now it's just a matter of placing it. Now, if I went over, which I think I might have, it will just dry hard, which the Tombow would not do that. It would just be sticky, and that's kind of a mess. And as you see, I had to shift it a little. That's why this glue is a little better for this. It dries pretty much as fast as the Tombow, slightly slower. So I have this little stand, and I wanted to give a plug for Crafter's Solution. I got this on Etsy at a recommendation of my upline, and I love it. It definitely helps, and I also have for the Tombow, and I like the silver color. I think that's perfect. So again, you can see I have a little seepage here, but in the end that will dry, and I would not be able to get rid of that if I was using Tombow. So that's why I like it a little better. All right, so here we're going to talk about the pocket. Here is my pocket I created, and I suggest you use a gift card, an old gift card, and what I do is with my 3M tape, I cut it down, and it would really be almost like in 4 pieces. So the bottom one is my widest, but I cut it in 3, so I cut the 2 sides. So I just use my little stitching as my guide so you don't see through it there. But I already went ahead and did that, and next is just simply adding it to the back here. So I'm going to take this backings off. I think this is a clever idea and great for a graduation. I know it would also make a cute birthday gift card. So I'm just going to slide this in and try to make it as straight as possible. And that looks pretty good. I don't want these corners to showing, but I do not mind a little bit showing on the other side. I think it would be really fun to have some cash sticking out. That would be really cool. And so that is the basic card. We're going to do a little bit of stamping for the underside. So this is my piece. Let me bring that back in. And this is what the measurements are. This is for stamping and writing a message. So for this one, since I'm making a graduation, we're going to do stamp "Here's to an exciting future full of adventures." So that could describe someone graduate from high school or whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that. And then I'm going to add this little doodad stamp. It's like a little, it mimics the comb of the peacock. Okay, so the next step is to add it to the bottom, and because this has this little pocket, I kind of think it would be best to add it like this. But I'm not going to show that part. I'm going to bring back in the original card, and you can see how it looks. One popped the peacock versus the sentiment. I'm going to go ahead and add a couple rhinestones. So I have the Noble Peacock rhinestones, but I felt like they were a little too dark. It didn't show up. So I'm just going to hit this, add a little, and I think rhinestones are fine for guys. But if that bothers you, by all means skip this part if it's a masculine card. But it's a really cute little graduation card, I think. All right, thanks so much for watching. Please consider subscribing and giving me a thumbs up. Don't forget to tap the bell for notifications. If you'd like to order any products, please email me at mewants3@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to help you place an order with the host code. Thanks again for watching, and happy stamping.